Welcome, everybody. Put it on my mic. We'll go live on Tik Tok as well. Woo! And then turn off my red face on Tik Tok. That's always good. There we go. Now we're going live. Hello, everybody. Hope folks are here. I know we're early. Let me put on my glasses so I can see the first TikTok person, as always. Hope folks are seeing me. TikTok, notifying viewers. Honey Bear, you're the first person on TikTok. Hamburg. Hey, everybody. Exactly. Say where you're from. Honey Bear, you already knew that. Good for you. Hey, everybody. John in Washington, D.C. We like to take a minute and just have folks introduce themselves and say where you guys are all from. So I appreciate that. Texas. Portugal. New Zealand. Oh, that's nice. Nice. Well, I was wondering, although New Zealand, who knows? I was wondering if we'd get more of the international folks since I had to do an hour earlier today. Croatia, that's kind of cool. Iowa, I was okay too. Australia. I still get Scotland. I still get more excited. UK. I still get more excited by the folks from abroad just because it's nice to have that mix. Tokyo, that's cool. Now, I don't remember Tokyo before. That's very cool. Newfoundland. Puerto Rico, Denmark. Mars is okay. Lithuania, that's very cool. Nice to see you, Lithuania. Hope you guys are hanging in there. Scary times. Rosemont. All right, guys, we'll give it like another minute. Just to have folks slowly fall into shape. And then we'll jump in. Lots of news today. Kharkiv, Chicago. I'm hoping you're in Chicago and not Kharkiv at the moment. Mom's basement. Aren't we all? San Antonio, Ohio, Hungary. Oh, that's cool. Siberia, for real? Wait, but where? Siberia is big. I've been to Kamchatka. I've been to Petropavlovsk, actually, in Siberia. So I do know Siberia. Early today, yep. I've got something going on at 8. I finally decided to have just a small bit of life today. So instead of 7 p.m. Washington, D.C. time, we're starting at 6 p.m. Hold on, I'm going to grab my little... And the sun means the sun's hitting me full on, so we'll have to just figure this out. Well, my lighting's going to be bad for the first hour. Thank you for that. All right, guys, you know what? I'm going to try to turn the computer. I'm going to try to turn the phone 1 second here, since we're early today, the sun is being our enemy. Good enough. All right, guys. All right, you know what? It's a smaller crowd, but it's a Friday night, so we expected that. Yeah, we'll just deal with the sun for the first hour. Oops, there we go. 1 sec here. It's not too bad. Sorry, I'm trying to move everything here. Didn't know the sun was going to interrupt us. All right, guys, good enough. All right, let me start off. John Arvosa is here, Washington, D.C. As I said, this is a sunny day. It was cloudy. Well, it'll go cloudy in a minute. Today's Ukraine update. As always, please follow me on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you can. News Daddy, News Father. They were calling me News Daddy before. Thank you for that on TikTok. As always, I will give a news introduction first. Maybe it'll go about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Always like looking out that was one of the Air Force Marine One helicopters that just flew over. The president's helicopter flies over my apartment. I'm in his flight path. That was not the president because when they fly, I don't know if you could hear a helicopter. It's exceptionally loud, so I always know it's his helicopter. But it's not the president unless there's 3 of the helicopters, because I think part of the idea is they use 3 because you won't know which one he's in. But it's kind of neat. A couple different times now I've seen him fly over. Just since Biden's been president. It's been kind of cool, kind of fun, Washington, D.C. thing. Anyway, so yes, put your questions. Definitely add me. Definitely give me sorting hats. I like that. Put your questions in the question field, wherever that is on TikTok. I know how to access them. I don't know how to make them on YouTube. Feel free to put the questions in the comments, of course. And as always, I promise that if you do a super chat question, I will get to it immediately. Well, I'll finish my current topic and then get to it immediately. Otherwise, I will get to the other questions. It's just I can never get to all the questions. There's always too many, especially TikTokers seem to ask more questions than the YouTubers, interestingly enough. All right, guys, let's just dig right in. So, I would say the top story is Russian troop movements today and where all of that stands. Yesterday, we were very suspicious of the Russians and whether, in fact, they were leaving and whether they were, in fact, pulling back like they claimed they were. Thank you for that. And, in fact, NATO and Western officials are saying it looks like the Russians are, in fact, pulling back from the Kiev area, the capital of Ukraine, which you will recall, if Ukraine were a square, Kiev is kind of in the middle towards the top. And then you've got like Belarus over there, Russia over there, but kind of towards the top of Ukraine. Well, that's the big prize for the Russians. They wanted to come in and take the capital. Putin allegedly had thought he was going to take Kyiv within 3 or 4 days. The troops were even told this when they were complaining already about how conditions were going in the first few days. They were told, I think day 3, oh, it'll be over in a few hours. So, well, thank you for that. It is now in its 5th week, so it was not over in a few hours. And it now appears that the Russians are, in fact, withdrawing and retreating from Kyiv. Now, some of the troops are, in fact, just all-out retreat. They are going back to Belarus. Apparently, what the experts are saying is a lot of these guys are just destroyed. I mean, the Ukrainians destroyed a lot of the Russian troops. They killed a lot of them. They destroyed their equipment. The supply lines broke down, right? I mean, remember that 40-mile-long convoy everybody was talking about? Well, that was supposed to supply food, water, ammunition, fuel to all those soldiers that were coming down to Kyiv. Well, the convoy never made it. These guys ran out of fuel within a few days. And then they ran out of ammunition. So the Ukrainians destroyed them. So what's going on now is you've got a number of the Russians that are now withdrawing and going back to Belarus. These guys, people are thinking, are in such bad shape, they're not going to rest. They're not going to sleep on it, wake up, and then come back again. These guys are decimated. They're young kids who were sent. They weren't prepared. They were destroyed. Now, there are some more highly trained folks that were near Kyiv that the experts are saying are going to be now moving east and going to fight in the east. Now, that's the new old goal of this war is for Putin to take eastern Ukraine, most likely annex it, and then annex a corridor in southern Ukraine along the water that goes to Crimea. Thank you for that. You may recall that the way it works in Ukraine is you've got Crimea on the bottom, which is this peninsula going into the water. And what happened there is the Russians invaded in 2014 and they stole that land. They annexed it, as Russia. No one on the planet recognizes it as Russia except the Russians. Then the Russians now have moved into the east and they want to annex these 2 provinces in the east, or these 2 areas in the east. Thank you for that. And make it Russia. They basically been trying to foment a civil war for 8 years now, since 2014, just paying these guys to be rebels and declare independence. So that's the thought now. Is those 2 areas, but what do you got? You've got Crimea in the south that they already have. You've got the area in the east, Donbass as it's called, that the Russians want to annex, but between them you got open space, right? So you've got the Russians want to establish a land corridor between the 2 so they can have, Magna Russia go down through the eastern territories, along the sea, and then connect to Crimea. So it's all Russian land. That's why you're hearing of fighting in cities like Mariupol. Mariupol is that city that's just been obliterated. Laura, let me look here. Was it confirmed to be Ukraine in the bombing? Oh, we're going to get on that in a second. Yeah, I'm definitely going to jump into that in a sec, Laura. That's my second topic. This whole bombing thing going on in Russia today. But so anyway, so the Russian goal is to grab all of that land together, and that's where they're refocusing now. Oh, I was saying that's what you've heard about Mariupol. Mariupol is the town where the Russians bombed the Red Cross warehouse twice now in the last 2 weeks, where the Russians bombed the theater that had the words children written outside of it. We all heard about that. Where the Russians bombed the maternity hospital, where mothers are giving birth to children. That's Mariupol. It is a key strategic city right there in the middle that the Russians want so they can control that whole area of land connecting Crimea to eastern Ukraine to Russia. So there you go. Now, one of the other objectives the Russians are trying is they're trying to see, I'm just throwing this in because I think the military analysis is interesting. There are already Ukrainian troops fighting there in the east. And what the Russians want to do is see if they can sort of come down from the top and the bottom and encircle the Ukrainian troops and basically, kill them or capture them by having a siege on all sides. What the experts are saying is this is very difficult because it would take a lot of troops to do it. Like the bigger the number of Ukrainians, the bigger the circle surrounding them, right? Well, the Russians need a ton of troops. They probably don't have that many, so the troops would be spread thin, which puts them at more risk. And in order to do it in such a large area, to encircle the Ukrainian troops, you need good supply lines coming from multiple directions and coming for hundreds of miles back into Russia. Well, As we all know, what does Russia suck at? They suck at supply lines. We talked about that 40-mile-long convoy in the north. Apparently, historically, this is typical Russia. They just don't do logistics well. They don't feed their troops. They don't get them ammunition. They don't get them fuel. They just do a bad job of it. And when you do a bad job, your troops get stuck and then get blown up. So again, the experts are saying they're not terribly certain that the Russians can pull this off where they want to kind of, crush the Ukrainians from both sides in the east. Let me see. Oh yeah, the final little point with that, which is kind of interesting just to think about, is let's say that is Putin's goal now, that they recognize they can't get Kiev in the north, they can't get Odessa in the south, two of the big things they were wanting to do. Thank you for that. Let's say that they're going to settle for the east now. Is that enough? Is that enough for Putin to be able to go home and say, we got what we wanted, we denazified Ukraine, we got the land in the east. Thank you for that on TikTok. And it was worth losing 15, 20,000 or more of our men and showing our military to be basically just a pack of lies. I don't know. I'm not sure that's enough. And I'm sorry, the last question with that, and is it enough to get the West to lift their sanctions? If Ukraine says, no way, we are not letting you take our land in the east, is the West going to say, well, we're going to let you take, we're going to lift the sanctions anyway? If the sanctions stay, Russia's in real trouble long term. Now, second topic, which Laura Pettit brought up on YouTube while we were talking, is this oil depot in the east. I wrote this one down and I put my title, Snowflake Alert. We use the term in the US. Snowflake obviously is a piece of snow coming down, but it also is used for something that can melt very easily, something very fragile. And snowflakes are people who get very upset very easily for no reason. And in this case, I would be accusing the Russians of being snowflakes. The Russians are freaking out, accusing Ukraine, this morning, 5 a.m. local Russian time, of attacking an oil depot in the Russian town of Belgorod, which is right across the border, right across the Ukrainian border, into Russia. Again, think of Ukraine as a square. I said Kiev is kind of in the middle-ish. In the upper northeast, you've got Kharkiv, the second largest city of 1.5 million people that the Russians have been trying unsuccessfully to blow the bejesus out of and take over. I mean, they've been attacking it, but they haven't been succeeding in taking it over. Well, right across the border from Kharkiv, you've got Belgorod. So this has been a major point, lots of military bases, major point for the Russian attack on Kharkiv, okay? A lot of supplies there, fuel, munitions, you name it. Well, 2 days ago, the 30th, 2 days ago, the ammunitions depot blows up mysteriously in the town. Now, obviously, a lot of us wondered, was it the Ukrainians? But the Russians also have a habit of having their ammunitions depots blow up because they're just bad at this stuff, and they're bad at taking care of things. So nobody was sure. Well, 2 days later, we now have a Russian oil depot blow up in the same town. I'm having a hard time believing, looking at my little hair, I'm having a hard time believing that that's a coincidence. There's no way. Now, the Ukrainians are kind of denying it and kind of saying we will not confirm nor deny. They're kind of doing both statements. The Russians are livid. The Russians are saying, oh my God, it's an escalation. Oh my God. Escalation meaning you did far more than anybody. You did much worse than anything we did. So now we've got to do something way worse. And give me a break. And actually, some U.S. military people have said this too. A former military guy on CNN this morning, I think a former general even, said the same thing. Oh, I'm very concerned. If the Ukrainians did this is escalation. He goes, I am sure the American officials got on the red phone immediately to call Moscow and to let them know we had nothing to do with this. And I'm listening to this and I'm going, okay, so maybe the Ukrainians flew in to Russia. Mind you, how bad is Russian border security if a couple Ukrainian helicopters could just fly in at will? I mean, is that what the Russians are really admitting? Like, okay, fine. But maybe the Ukrainian helicopters flew in and they bombed an oil depot. That's really bad and beyond the pale and serious escalation, except it's what the Russians did 6 days ago in Ukraine in the town of Lviv. Do you remember when President Biden was in Poland and he was visiting with the refugees and we heard the reports of the Russians having attacked eastern Ukraine in a town right near the border and how basically it was their nasty way of sending a little threat to Biden? That was the oil depots in Lviv, Ukraine. So the Russians 6 days ago did the exact same thing the Ukrainians are accused of doing this morning. But when the Ukrainians do it, it's a dangerous escalation that could lead to, oh my God. And the Russians are literally claiming this may call off the peace talks. They just don't. I mean, they were just, verklempt is the word we use. It's from an old, well, it's Yiddish, but it's from an old Saturday Night Live episode. But they were just, again, the snowflakes. Oh my, they're dear hearts. So I just cry BS on a lot of this. And I'm not even understanding why the news is getting into this whole back and forth of the Russians are showing escalation. I think, unfortunately, the Russians, as I've said before to you guys, the Russians have done a very good job of scaring our government. And remember, like, all this nuclear war stuff, and they have nuclear weapons. We don't want to get involved militarily with the Russians, and we can't even give them Poland's MiG fighter jets because that would be a dangerous escalation, and Russia has nukes. And nobody was saying, well, we've all got nukes too. America has nukes. The French have nukes. The English have nukes. Yeah, so what? You've got nukes, Russia. Good for you. So do we. Give it a break, right? So but I think Putin has scared them, and I think Putin's freaked them out. And this is one more effort at doing it, going, oh my God, you invaded our territory and blew up an oil depot. And he's trying to get America to go, oh boy, Putin's going to feel cornered now. He's going to use his nukes. When it's like, dude, it's this. You get it. You know what I'm talking about. It's the exact same stuff they did. Anyway, let's move on to Mariupol. Mariupol, as we just talked about when I was talking about that land corridor in the south Russia wants to grab by the Black Sea. Mariupol, the poor city that they bombed the theater with the kids written on it. They bombed the maternity ward of the hospital, all that kind of stuff. There have been 100 and some thousand people there, maybe 140, 160,000 people left. The Russians have been bombing the place nonstop. 90% of the buildings are basically gone or damaged, destroyed. The Russians just went all out for civilian casualties, everything else. Basically, they wanted to just level the town and take it. They don't care if any buildings stand. They certainly don't want any people left. They want land that they can take, put their own parking lot, and then it's theirs, right? Well, there were some evacuations yesterday. They established a humanitarian corridor to get some of the people out. The Russians initially stopped 45 of the buses that were going in to save people and held them overnight just to be jerks. Mind you, this was their own evacuation they agreed to, but just to be jerks, because this is what the Russians do. They call for evacuations, and then either they don't let you evacuate or they bomb you while you're evacuating. They did this to citizens earlier in Ukraine, and they did this to Ukrainian troops several years ago in 2014. That story really, I always mention it because it just blows my mind. They told these Ukrainian soldiers that if you put your weapons down, we'll let you escape. We'll let you, evacuate and go back to your homes. Just put your weapons down, go back homes. Well, what do the Russians do? 400 Ukrainian troops put their weapons down, go through the peace corridor where the Russians won't bomb them, and the Russians just kill them all. One fell swoop. 400 soldiers dead. Just killed them all. Unbelievable. So, we should not be surprised that they're trying to stop civilians from evacuating. Finally, the buses got through. About 2,000 people evacuated. Mind you, there's still 100,000 people remaining or more, according to the local officials in Mariupol. The Russians, at the same time, when they were blocking the evacuation buses yesterday, they stole 12 truckloads of humanitarian supplies for the citizens in the city. 12 truckloads. Now, why is that important? Let me read you this clip, and I'm feeling bad now. This is from CNN. Yes, it's from CNN. They were interviewing the deputy mayor of Mariupol, who was describing the humanitarian situation there. Listen to this. All of the people, meaning the entire town now, 100,000 plus people who are left, all of them are living underground in shelters, bomb shelters in some spaces below. So just to have possibility to survive, right? So they're in bomb shelters just to possibly, survive, not to be killed by airstrikes, by missiles, by shelling, said Orlov. They are sharing some food with each other. So it's typical food for a day. So the typical food for a day in Mariupol is a glass of water with 1 or 2 cakes. And by cakes, I'm guessing they mean it could be like a little Danish. It could be like a little cookie in a wrapper, but that's what they mean by cakes. They don't mean like a cake, like we think in America or maybe Britain too, like they mean like, a cookie kind of in a wrapper, right? So a glass of water with 1 or 2 cakes, 1 glass of soup in the afternoon. Oh, so that was breakfast. A glass of water with 1 or 2 cookies in the morning is breakfast. 1 glass of soup in the afternoon, and also I think that's it. 1 glass of soup in the afternoon, and then 1 glass of water and 1 cake in the evening. That's what they're eating. So they're getting like 3 cookies a day, 2 glasses of water, and a cup of soup. That's it. Unbelievable. And finally, the deputy mayor said 2,000 kids in the city are now without parents. They don't know if the parents are dead. They don't know if the Russians kidnapped the parents. But he said before the war came, they were worried their city was going to be in the thick of it. And any of the orphans in the city, you know, they sent them out of town to a safer part of Ukraine, probably out west, I'm sure. So that he said there were no orphans in the town. There are now 2,000 children they're taking care of who don't have parents. They don't know where they are. So just horrific. Oh, one more thing. As a report, CNN was in Zaporizhia today, which is nearby. That's one of the other areas that has a nuclear plant that the Russians were taking over and all of that garbage. Well, the refugees arriving in Zaporizhia from Mariupol were saying that the Russians were interrogating them on the way out. They would stop them at checkpoints, search the bus, interrogate everybody, and then make the men take their shirts off. They were looking for tattoos that would somehow indicate that this was a soldier hiding a tattoo. I mean, like really, you know, it's not like the military gets, I mean, sure, soldiers get tattoos, but it's not like you get tattooed by the military when you go in. Any case, they said one young boy who was 18 was witnessed. The Russians found a tattoo they didn't like. They threw a bag over his head, dragged him into a military vehicle, and he was gone. So even with the people fleeing these towns, this is what they're doing. Snowflake alert number 2, Russia threatened Wikipedia today. I'm assuming you all know Wikipedia, right? Sort of the online encyclopedia that people can edit. And it has actually a pretty good community that keeps it pretty honest. Well, the Russians are very upset about the war reporting on Wikipedia, right? You have a sip of water here. Very upset about the war reporting. And thank you for those roses. I do see that, by the way. I just don't stop every time I'm talking, but thank you for that. The Russians are very upset. I'm going to tell you what they're upset about in a minute. And they're threatening to fine Wikipedia 4 million rubles or $47,000, the equivalent. Thank you for that. If they don't either, you know, remove the page, doctor it, whatever. Well, Newsweek reported on what the problem was. Okay. The Russian language version of the page contained, according to the Russian censor, inaccurate information. You can listen to me read this, and you almost can hear North Korea saying this, okay, as I'm reading this. The Wikipedia page contains inaccurate information about the special military operation to protect the Donetsk and Luhansk People Republics for the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine, including the use of the words war, aggression, and invasion. It's not a war. You can't say the word aggression, and you can't say the words invasion. I mean, give me a break. Give me an absolute break. The prisoner exchange. Oh, here's a bit of, actually 3 bits of good news I'm going to end with. That's not too long. Good. 3 bits of good news I'm going to end with as the sun is coming in on me again. The first is prisoner exchange today with the Russians and the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians got 86 service members back, including 15 women service members. And somebody had corrected me on this a while ago. There are women serving in the Ukrainian military. I'm not sure what roles they have, but I thought that was interesting. I just had no idea. The second interesting thing, I had reported a few weeks ago. I'd shown you guys, I had it on TikTok and I showed it to the guys on YouTube and elsewhere, this wonderful video the Ukrainians did where they were asking Russian troops to defect and to bring either their fighter jets or their tanks. I think it was or their tanks with them. Oh no, this was like a couple weeks. It was fighter jets or helicopters. That was it. Fighter jet, and it was $1 million. And they offered $1 million US for the fighter jets, or $500,000 for the helicopters. And they had a special. The best part was they had like an 800 number set up, like a special number. Dial 30. And then, and the thing is, the whole thing is in Ukrainian or Russian, but the one word you can understand, you know, dollars. And the other word you understand that it says $1 million, and you hear guarantee, like guarantee. Well, today they put out a new flyer, and I've got it on TikTok. Sorry, I don't have it for you guys. But basically, the new going price, and they've got pictures too, $1 million for a MiG fighter jet or a battleship. And honestly, I would think the battleship should draw more than $1 million, but you know, who's going to haggle? $500,000 for a helicopter, so at least that price hasn't gone up with inflation, and $100,000 for a tank or artillery. And again, tanks. I would have thought tanks would have gone for more, but then again, you know, who knows? So that made me laugh. And then the final thing, good news is, and this is almost a complicated story, more complicated than I realized. Germany has approved of the sale of 56 infantry fighting vehicles to Ukraine. Now, the way this works, first of all, an infantry, a lot of people reported this as tanks. I did too, because that's how the officials reported it. Infantry fighting vehicles are those vehicles that look like tanks, but they're not tanks. That's the best way to put it. If you've ever called something a tank and somebody goes, that's not a tank, it's an infantry fighting vehicle. It's low like a tank. It has, the big gun like a tank, but it's not a tank. The Germans okayed the sale of 56 of these, and the reason the Germans had to okay it is because they were originally manufactured in East Germany, which is now part of Germany in general. So they're German made, and any German made weapons, even if they belong to someone else now, you have to get approval from Germany before they can get sold to certain maybe to anybody, let alone to certain countries like Ukraine. So these weapons first were given or sold to the Swedes. The Swedes then sold them to a Czech company, a former Czechoslovakia, a Czech company, and now the Czech company wants to sell them to Ukraine. So long story short, the Germans said they approve of the sale, so the sale will go forward, which is great. 56 is 56. Not going to complain. And again, good for the Germans, because little complaints about Germany back and forth, but Anyway, that is what I've got for you guys on the news today. Like I said, the big stories were the Russians do appear to actually be moving back. And that oil depot thing, which I think, thank you for that on TikTok, by the way, that oil depot thing, which I think is just silly. I mean, I just, give me a break. But anyway, ask your questions. Put them, like I said, on TikTok. I can, YouTube. I will jump to TikTok first. 1 second here. Boop. Yeah. Russian flag, whatever. I like how the Russian trolls on they put a bunch of Russian flags, like that's going to hurt us. Okay, it's your flag. That's nice. Don't know anything about Japan splitting Russian forces. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Well, that's an interesting point. So somebody else just asked, Catwoman who loves dogs writes, I thought the Russians, let me pull this up. I thought the Russians wouldn't have enough money to continue the war. So I'm seeing differing stories on this. I saw some people saying that the Russians would not, thank you for that, Rebecca, unless you meant you would have a question, Rebecca. If you do, throw it in, but thank you otherwise. Some folks were saying, over the long term, the Russians don't have enough money. They just don't. They don't have the troops. They don't have the money. Well, now what I saw today, I was reading an analysis by somebody of the war, and they said the big problem is manpower, which I thought was kind of interesting. They said it's not, at least for right now, they were saying it wasn't machinery, which surprised me because I was like, a lot of the machinery is getting, killed, and that it wasn't money. And again, I'd read the other day that money was going to be a really big problem in terms of trying to fuel the war machine. Nonetheless, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. My guess is all around. The money situation is tough because they're not making money. They're making money on the oil and gas sales and coal, and that's it. All the other stuff has gone downhill for the Russians. Mind you, that is their big stuff, but all the other commerce is gone. So that, and as we said, trying to get more troops is going to be fun. Rebecca, did you have a question or were you just saying hi? Rebecca may have just been saying hi. Thank you for that. Merrill, I don't know about the Russian stock market, whether foreigners can dive in. I do know that the Russian stock market opened fully. That I know. But I don't know whether they allow foreigners now to buy and sell. I remember I was actually just for fun tracking several Russian ETFs or index funds or whatever on Robinhood, and they froze them around the time the Russian stock market was closing or whatever a few weeks ago, and trading was frozen. And I looked the other day and they were still frozen, but I don't recall right now if they're open again yet or not. I don't know. Let me just see what you're saying here. Video. Somebody saw a video of 40 military supply army vehicle borders with Russia. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look, first of all, and I'll get to Harvey in a second here. First of all, you've got the issue of even the Russians retreating have still got to be supplied. I mean, they've got to have food, water, ammunition in case they get attacked because the Ukrainians are still attacking them as they're retreating, and fuel every day or two. They've got to be, the tanks, for example, have got to be refueled every day or two. So, you never know. The supplies, the military supplies you could be seeing at the Belarusian border could be for a renewed attack. It could be for a Belarusian invasion. It could also be supplies for the Russian troops that are fleeing. And it could even, the final point is, I mentioned this yesterday, it could be for the Russian troops that are trying to redeploy to the east. Because the Russians, remember I said, imagine Ukraine is a square. I know the Ukrainians are going, it's not a square. You've got Kiev kind of in the middle. You've got Kharkiv in the northeast. Well, since the Russians didn't take Kharkiv, they now have to kind of go, and they're leaving Kiev. They've got to go up through Belarus, through Russia, and around to get to the east. Had they taken Kharkiv, they could have gone just across the country and taken the shortcut. It's like the difference between here and here versus going like, I'm trying to stay in the picture, going like this. So it's possible those supply trucks are supply trucks for the Russians because they need to be supplied for now this, like General was saying the other day, 1,300-mile long trip or something crazy. Javi asks, what do you think of China's recent demands that the EU act independently of U.S. foreign policy regarding Ukraine? Has Russia had influence? I mean, maybe. I'm just not sure. Like, so what? I mean, it's China saber rattling now. I mean, so what? First of all, demanding the EU. Okay, what China's doing is trying to say, oh, there may be economic implications. Give me a break. Also with China too, I got news for you. Like, we buy stuff from China. I mean, granted, they cut us off. We lose a lot of stuff, but we actually buy stuff and we make stuff in China. If they cut us off, where's their economy going to be? We're the ones actually buying things from them and making things there. So I don't see that happening. It does seem to be a veiled threat by China at the EU saying, oh, we might come after you economically if you don't go independent, but give me a break. Especially on this right now, the EU isn't budging on this. So, at the same time, maybe Russia's pissed off and China's trying to help them, because China's getting a bad rap that China's trying to take the middle position between Russia and Ukraine. So maybe they're trying to show, oh no, we're with you, Vlad, we're with you. But I don't know that I care. It feels like another one of those blustery things where I'm like, you know what, bluster away. Rebecca, the first was a thank you. Okay, now it's a question. Okay, thank you. Any update on the senior officials Zelensky fired? Nothing. No. They're the only ones he mentions. When it was a bunch of articles yesterday talking about the stress between the Ministry of Defense, the Minister of Defense, and Putin, and how the Minister of Defense had disappeared. I mean, literally disappeared for 2 weeks, for the last couple of weeks. Finally showed up again the other day. The reports are that Putin pretty much hates his guts now, blames him for the war. Good question as to whether the generals and everybody fully informed Putin, whether Putin allows himself to be fully informed, or whether because he's a dictator, he doesn't like, bad news. Who knows? But this guy is still in his job, but he's on the outs. Two top security, meaning like FSB, CIA, whatever, people are under house arrest or something. And those, I think, are the ones you're talking about, Rebecca. But, Zelensky. Oh, my God. Okay, sorry. I'm telling you about the Russians. Yeah, she's talking about okay. Anyway, that's good update for you. Anyway, we don't have any update on all the Russians that Putin is arresting in his own administration. Rebecca's asking about Ukraine. She's talking about two generals that President Zelensky just fired, and he fired them for, I think he probably used the word treason because he said they were working for the Russians. We don't know anything more about it. Some stuff I was reading was saying that there is a lot of Russian penetration into Ukraine, so that it is entirely possible they were Russian spies. One analysis I read said it's also possible the Russians set them up. Who knows? That the Russians wanted to get rid of these two generals and they planted evidence to make them look bad or something. Who knows? But that's all I've got for you. I did see one retired U.S. general say today that it's actually not very uncommon to change generals during wartime, because some generals are really good, really good when you're not fighting a war, but when a war comes, they just really suck at it. The thing is, I feel like he was spinning a bit because Zelensky literally accused these guys of treason, I'm pretty sure. And I don't think it's typical to have a couple generals you accuse of treason during a war. That hasn't happened to us before. So no updates beyond that, other than, they were generals and they're gone. I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen to them, but they're gone. Okay, I'm hoping I didn't miss anything else on TikTok. Let me jump to, although I did see that Maria Butina thing. I wanted to jump on that. I try to remind me and I'll jump on it. But first, let me jump to TikTok because we've already did a few YouTubes. Nobody knows. B. Sean Slavin asks, is the ghost of Kiev still alive? Nobody really knows. We're not hearing about him anymore. The ghost of Kiev was this maybe mythical, maybe real. My friend Vlad in Ukraine says was very adamant. No, the ghost is real. was like, all right, is this fighter pilot in Ukraine who has an amazing history of knocking down Russian jets? The Ukrainians say it's real. Some people think it's a myth, although it's a pretty nice urban, as Meryl Jensen saying, a nice urban legend in Ukraine, but that's been giving people hope. Haven't heard much about it lately, which almost makes me wonder if it was an urban legend people started, but still pretty cool. Pretty cool. I don't think, what else we got here? Is it Putin's twilight years? We'll see. I think we all hope it's Putin's twilight years, but not clear whether it is. Somebody mentioned Maria Butina. I didn't see what your... Yes. Okay. Yes. I've opted out asks if I saw the interview with Maria Butina on the BBC. I saw the interview, but I didn't watch it. Maria Butina, a Russian member of parliament, gets interviewed by the BBC. And it introduces her as a Russian member of parliament. And, you know, she gives her wonderful little pro-Putin, pro-war talk. The BBC doesn't bother telling people in the description of the video, and I'm assuming from what I heard the video itself, that Maria Butina isn't just a Russian member of parliament. She's that Russian spy, the redhead that we arrested a few years back. Because remember, she was infiltrating the NRA, the National Rifle Association, which is the, well, at least was America's, I would say, biggest gun rights group. We have gun rights groups in our country, but, you know, sort of pro-gun. So we don't ban guns, right? And she infiltrated them. She became friends with a lot of the Republican senators and congressmen and, you know, pictures with all of them. And a very successful spy in terms of she got herself into a lot of places. We arrested her for spying. She was in jail for, I think, a year and a half. And then I think we did a spy trade or whatever we did with Russia. Well, the BBC turns around and interviews her and doesn't bother mentioning that, like, who this woman is. They're just like, oh, she's a member of parliament. Let's ask her some questions. So people were a little ticked because at the very least, you know, not to mention, she's probably still a spy. So, like, at least say who the woman is, you know, rather than, she's just a member of parliament. So, yeah, that kind of ticked me off a little bit. Let me jump to another question here on the Q&As. One sec here. What Russia has, Kevro asks about a military draft. What Russia has is they've got a draft, but the way that some of the other countries do. We don't in the US, meaning it's not like the entire country is being mobilized like we're at war. It's the typical draft they have where every year, twice a year, a number of young men, 18 to maybe 29 or something, get drafted for a year and they have to do their compulsory military service. So I'd say like what Israel has, but I think in Israel, for example, I'm pretty sure everybody has to do it. In Russia, I'm pretty sure everybody doesn't. For example, they just... April 1st was the beginning of the new conscripts, the new men that they were taking, you know, for the compulsory, twice a year they do this. And the number was like 134,000 men or something that they were taking. That's it. I mean, Russia's a country of, I don't even know how many millions, but it's a lot more than that. So that is not all of their young men. So Russia has not done a national mobilization of a kind of draft, but they have keeping our forces ready every year. A certain number have to come in, they serve a year and then they're let go. Or they can sign a contract for a second year if they want. I would think at this point, you're kind of a real bozo if you sign up for a second year, but that's just me. Close that. Let me see. You guys do a lot of questions today. Good. Like I said, the YouTubers don't always have questions, you guys. YouTubers. Oh, Rebecca. There you go. I got a headache again today. God. I've been getting sinus headaches since I had that little surgery. And I'm like, oh, I never have, like, in my life, I don't get sinus headaches. I'm hoping this isn't an aftermath because I've never gotten them before. Now I understand why people complain. It's just like right here. And it's just like a little bit of pain. I don't get headaches. Oof. All right. Oops. Sorry. My dog is, Sasha, I can't help you. Sorry. You're okay. Relax. My dog is growling at me because she wants me to cover her with the blanket. It's a trick she learned, or I should say it's a trick I learned a number of years ago, was when the blanket isn't on her and she can't quite get it, she goes, oh, I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? You messed it up. And I'm supposed to go cover her up. Rebecca Milan, some turnover is good. Okay, you know what? Now I'm feeling guilty. All right. Since we are among friends here, I'm covering up my dog, and then I'm going to read Rebecca Milan's question. All right, you are a pain. You know that? let everybody know how whipped you have me. All right. Jeez. You know, when you've got pets, they're not just your children, they're your master. So Rebecca says, some turnover is good. Is there more concern of chemical weapons or chemical war since Russian troops are moving? Putin and friends in Siberian bunkers, an uptick in chatter. Oh, well, okay. I mean, it's a lot of things going on there, but you're asking about sort of the risk of chemical war and Putin escalating. You know, the bunker thing, I haven't found anything about the bunker thing after several weeks ago. Several weeks ago, there were reports, but I didn't see them in really credible papers that Putin and his top advisors or Putin's family and his top advisors' families had moved to, nuclear bunkers to protect themselves. Thank you for that on TikTok. Had moved their families to nuclear bunkers in the Ural Mountains in eastern Russia to protect themselves, because an imminent American nuclear attack, which meant Russia was maybe going to do something, to provoke America's nuclear attack. But I didn't see anything anywhere more credible, and I didn't see anything just written about it at all. So I'm not convinced. I wonder whether that was Russian propaganda, and they were saying it just to scare us. One more thing to make people in the West and our frankly, Biden and the European leaders, right? Oh my God, we don't want World War III. And thinking, oh my God, we better not give Ukraine all the weapons we want because then Putin's going to have World War III. So I don't think so. I don't think there's anything new. I don't think there's anything new at all. Again, I think that's also why Putin is complaining about the, thank you for that. I always like that. It's very pretty on TikTok. Why the Russians are complaining about the oil depot being attacked, because again, it's like, oh my God, you attacked our oil depot, between the lines. Are we going to now use chemical weapons? They're trying to say how angry and crazy they are. I'm over them at this point. I really am. I think they're just trying to play us. So I'm not worried about it. Tony W., thoughts about the news regarding Russia saying they and China leading the new democratic world order? I didn't see that. I mean, I do know, look, we know that, thank you for that's my favorite. Thank you. We know that China and Russia have this sort of pact they formed. I don't know if it was a couple of years ago, whenever, and it was meant to sort of offset the U.S. China and the U.S. are clearly the nice way of putting it, the big two competitors going into the future, right? And we certainly see that we believe that. I mean, Russia is the big PITA, the pain in the butt, but China is the actual competitor. Russia needs to saddle itself up to China just for a little more visibility, because other than nuclear weapons, Russia is not a superpower. They're not. I mean, economically, they're not. Militarily, they're clearly not. Nuclear, okay, sure. And that's why they saddled up to China, and thank you for that. And China is doing it as well, I think, just because, look, they know they scare the Americans, and it's just one more way of scaring us. And at the same time, better relations with Russia means maybe between them they have less tension, and they don't have to worry about having troops on their own borders. For example, right now with Ukraine, better for Russia to have good relations with China now, so Russia can afford to move a lot of those troops from the east to the west, 11 time zones away, knowing that China's an ally, so China isn't going to attack. But, new democratic world order, give me a break. The communist dictatorship and the as John McCain called them, the gas station with nukes, give me a break. I mean, they're all talk. It's not good. Thank you for the train, by the way. It's not good. I mean, I'd rather have China be an ally of ours, so to speak, if we could figure out a way to work together and not work with Russia, but at the same time, new world order, please. Give me a break. Chloe. Oh, hey, Chloe Reitherman. I know men have to stay in Ukraine right now. Correct. When do you think they'll be allowed to leave? Who knows? Chloe is referring to, thank you for that, by the way. Chloe is referring to the fact that Ukraine, right at the start of the war, said that men aged 18 to 60 could not leave the country because they might be needed for the military. I don't believe I'm not sure how Ukraine is doing it, because I don't believe everybody has to join the military. I'm not sure how they're doing it. All I know is, in any case, the men can't leave, because either everyone has to join or everyone has to be ready to join. Thank you for that. Everyone has to be ready to join. So I don't know which one it is. But yeah, honestly, they're not going to be able to leave until the war is over, I think, at this point. Thank you. until the war is over, I think, because Ukraine does, who knows how this is going to go. They may need more men. I mean, Russia, what if Russia's able to, I don't know, have some kind of a comeback? What if Russia actually takes Kiev, and then you need to call up every man to attack Kiev. So I don't know. I don't see them opening that up anytime soon. I think it possibly is when the war is over, but I think doing it early might be a little worrisome because, you don't want everybody leaving. You want your guys there, All right, kids, let me jump back to TikTok. TikTok questions. One moment. What do we got here? I am not aware of the Belt and Road Initiative. Sorry. Yep, somebody asked about the 66 infantry vehicles. The Germans are okay. Well, that's the interesting question. I don't know. Tom, or CTRPN3 Tom, asks if Ukraine will take back Donbass. So Donbass is that region in the east that the rebels, I hate to even call them rebels because they're basically terrorists that the Russians have been paying, but have taken, I don't know if it's half of the land. Let's say it's half, but a part of the land, but a big other chunk they've not taken yet. And they would like to take the entire chunk, declare them all independent. They did declare themselves. Thank you, Raymond, for that, by the way. They already declared themselves independent, but they want to take all the land, have the Russians help them, and then, as I said, probably declare themselves independent from Ukraine. It's going to, I guess we have to see in the next month or so if Russia, first of all, is able to take that whole region to start with. They haven't taken it yet. Clearly, our experts have been warning that this is going to be a tougher fight for the Ukrainians because some of Russia's most seasoned troops are in this area. So it could be a much harder battle for the Ukrainians than what they're fighting elsewhere in the country. Having said that, we also have the Ukrainians' most seasoned troops because they've been dealing with this insurrection for the last 8 years as well. So, half a dozen of one, half a dozen of the other. I don't know. What's funny? I was just Googling before we started just that whole concept of, can Putin hold the Donbass? And I didn't find, nothing came up that I found. So I just didn't find anything. But I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. He's going to take it. He's going to want to take it at least as a bargaining chip. My suspicion, though, is it's tough as a bargaining chip because he wants it anyway. So I feel like he would have at least wanted more than Donbass, so he could have stepped back and then just taken the east. But I really don't know. I don't know. Tribal flute. Thank you for that. All right, let me jump on another. I will jump on another TikTok. Boom. Oh, thank you. I saw that pop up just as I was going to the questions on TikTok. Thank you. I don't think so. So Phil Simpson asks, will Putin use a nuclear bomb once they pull out? And again, for me, Phil, this gets into Putin has done a really good job of scaring all of us. And I think that's what's going on. He wants to convince people that he's crazy and he has nukes and all of this. And, thank you for that. And rather than our people, you bought me a hat before. I saw your name. Thank you. Rather than our people saying, you know what, Vlad, we've got nukes too. Give it a rest. Just give me a break. He's got people scared. And he'd have to be crazy. And the problem is all of his generals, thank you for that too, all of his generals would have to be crazy for them to allow him to do this. He doesn't actually have a button. He has to make a phone call to launch the nukes, but he's got to contact other troops to do it or other generals. And he does pick generals who agree with him, but still, thank you. But still, come on. They're just going to start a nuclear war because Putin's mad. I just don't see it happening. And again, if they start blowing up nukes, it is a nuclear war. This war isn't over because Putin withdraws and then drops some nukes on Ukraine. The war is just beginning with the West if Putin drops some nukes on Ukraine. So he can be all scary man that he wants. I think he's bluffing. I really do. Because he does. If he uses tactical nuclear weapons, forget it. This whole thing, thank you again, this whole thing explodes. There was another question popped up. What about Sasha? Dexter and Princess said, Sasha deserves treats for dessert. She does. Have a great night and thank you. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Rebecca. Appreciate that. Yeah, Sasha will get some playtime later. Michael Stevens, What do you think happened to the troops involved in the mutiny that killed Colonel Medvedev? That's interesting. Well, we don't know. Okay, so this is the Russian army colonel that now, mind you, the media, our media has his name. Right? And yeah, I'm sorry about this again. The next time, if it's being sunny, I'll shut the curtains, but you guys can still see me. It's bright for me actually. But our own media reported this colonel's name. Thank you for that. I guess I didn't have it in front of me, but okay. Colonel Yuri Medvedev. I hate that last name. I can never say it in English. That basically his troops were so ticked at him. From what I'd read, like half the troops had frostbite on their toes. I mean, they were just pissed at this guy because typical sort of Russian colonel saying, oh, the war will be over within hours. And they waited until they got him just at the right moment. And he was in front of the tank, and the Russian tank ran the guy over because they were so pissed at him. One story said he was killed. The other story said he went to the hospital and received some Medal of Honor from Moscow. Thank you, Constance, for that. I don't know which, but what is an interesting question, what Michael says is what happened to the troops involved? If he's dead, I mean, I'm intrigued as to how the story even got out there at all. I mean, you could have run over him, and in the fog of war, he got run over, and oh well, But I don't know. I mean, if they know, obviously, if they really know it, those guys better have fled and joined the ranks of the Ukrainian army, or obviously the Russians are going to kill them. Doc Remington, excuse me. Thoughts on the report by Russia investigative group Project that Putin has a thyroid. Oh, I did see that. Oncologist around all the time. Yeah, there was some report that in the last year, Putin had a thyroid doctor, specifically a thyroid cancer doctor, visit him like 30 times. I think when he was in Sochi, I think it said, but 30 times the doctor came out to visit him, which is very suspicious because it really does sound like, I mean, if it's true, then it sounds like you're being ongoing treated for thyroid cancer, Thank you for that. I saw the report. I just didn't know. I didn't know how to judge the credit. First of all, it's why I didn't mention it tonight. I didn't know how to judge the credibility of it. I didn't even do a YouTube on it because I'll do more Googling afterwards, but I need to know more about the group and whether their stuff is credible. Or let me put it this way. I would like to see somebody I trust in the West report on it in a way where they've checked with experts who believe it's true for whatever reason. I just would like it to be vetted first. Might be true. I mean, there's clearly something wrong with this guy, but could it be thyroid cancer? It could. Now, thyroid cancer isn't necessarily a death knell, although I will say it's very weird to have a doctor come out 30 times in a year. That's 2.5 times. That's almost 3 times a month. I mean, that's a little much, unless Putin's just paranoid and made the guy come out all the time, which is weird. But Daniel Neal, apparently most of Russia's natural resource wealth is in Siberia and the Far East. Okay. Is China playing Russia? Could the breakup of Russia be China's goal? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by the breakup of Russia be China's goal, but this is an opportunity for China right now if it wants to take it, invading Russia. Russia's troops, the majority of its active troops and its troops it can use are in the West, meaning in Western Russia, 11 time zones. Well, maybe it's 9, 10, and 11 time zones, however big China is, away from China. That's really far. And Russia's relying on their friendship with China to not have to worry that they've got, that they have to keep more troops out by them. But right now, this makes Russia really vulnerable elsewhere, which I think is why the Japanese were playing games by threatening the Kuril Islands in the north that are disputed between Russia and Japan. It's why the Azeris and Azerbaijan government has been making, I think they even moved some troops in to Nagorno-Karabakh, disputed region, or I shouldn't even say disputed. It's only disputed by Armenia and Russia. But why they're acting up, because Russia's weak. Russia is not just distracted, Russia's weaker. They've got fewer troops. The troops are the ones that are alive are demoralized. They're hurt. They're injured. They've got fewer of their weapons, clearly. We've also seen in general that their troops just don't fight as well as we thought. So whatever image one had of Russia on a grading scale, maybe they were an 8, now they're a 6, or whatever. So this is China and everybody else's big opportunity to take whatever they want from Russian land. Of course, that might be a problem because maybe that would lead to World War III, but I'm not sure. I guess I see what you're saying. You're saying by China supporting Russia in this? Is China kind of going, yeah, go for it, Russia, good for you, talk to us when you're done, knowing that this is going to bring the end of the Russian government down? Maybe. And the country breaks apart. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I will say this, Russia fights Ukraine. Russia loses troops. America gets involved. America loses weapons and hardware because we're giving it to the Ukrainians. And all the time, China's sitting back. Thank you for that. China's sitting back and not having to spend any money at all on war. So in a way, you are watching your enemies kind of go after each other and each of them weaken each other. Maybe. There's another. Oh, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, 100. Trisha P says, they arrived today. 100 American kamikaze drones arrived in Ukraine today. I was watching a video explanation about this last night. We sent these drones. Now, it's only 100, which isn't a huge number, but these drones, I forget what they're called. They were called like 10 years ago kamikaze drones. I guess maybe out of politeness, we don't call them that today. But they're literally drones that are, thank you for that. There's a 5-pound model and a 50-pound. I learned this, or no, maybe a 35-pound model. I learned this last night. And they both come, they're drones, but the drones shoot out of a tube. So the drone is like, imagine like the guy in the circus is shot out of the tube and he's got his hands by his side. Well, the wings are by the side. It comes out of the drone, and as it's it shoots out of the tube, and as it's coming up, the wings spread out, and then the drone starts flying, right? Well, the drone has explosive charge in it. The 5-pound drone has a smaller charge. It can only stay up in the air for, I only know this because I watched the video last night. It can stay up in the air for 20 minutes, apparently about 20 minutes. The bigger drone, the 35-pounder, has a lot more explosive, and it can stay up in the air for something like 4 hours or something. So you can really careen around. It's got all these kind of, they can communicate with each other. So like if you have multiple, so they're kamikaze drones, meaning you crash them into things. The smaller drone is better for crashing into people. So like if you know a general is on the field or something like that. The bigger drones apparently have a, not tank worthy, I forget what the expression would be, an explosive that can blow up a tank. Like it is that strong on the bigger drone. So yeah, you fly them around. You've got a little dashboard, a little camera it looks like your phone on the phone, and you're literally looking at the terrain, telling it where to go. And the cool thing they were saying is the drones can also communicate. So you could send 3 drones in the air or 4 or 5 drones, and you see like 3 tanks on the ground or whatever. And you stick the drones on it. The drones can somehow communicate with each other, almost like they decide which one to go after, so that all drones won't go after the same target. They'll go, okay, you go that one, I go to this one, you go that one. Very cool stuff. It's only 100, and from what I'm told, the 100 isn't like that many, but nonetheless, it's getting cold in here. Because my sunlight, oh well. You know what? I'm going to shut my curtain. Sorry about this 1 second, folks, but my sunlight is hitting my thermostat. This is the first time this year that it's done it because the sun is changing. And it turned on my air conditioner. I'm freezing. It's like 50 degrees outside. We do not need air conditioner here in DC. Oh my God. That is funny. Woo. It hasn't done that yet this year. It's the first time. Wow. God, it literally, hold on. I got to turn that off now. My God. Sorry, guys. This is what happens when you get live TV. All right. Woo. Mamma mia, that was cold. Holy crap. All right. Oops. All right. My God. Sorry about that. Oh, jeez. I've got a Nest thermostat too. It's supposed to find things like that. Supposedly the sun hits it and it knows not to turn on. Well, let me tell you, it's freaking Siberia in here. Anyway, so yeah, the drones are very cool. The thought was it's not that many because they're not reusable, of course, because they're literally kamikaze. They come in, they crash, and then that's the end of it. Let me see what we got on Tik Tok here. Question. I don't know. Sorry, Ashley Marie was asking about anything happening in Mariupol. I saw them come up in the news yesterday. Nothing big that I can think of. I don't know. Oops, sorry, I did scroll down for where it was. Yeah, I mean, from what we know, Nama Noodle says, is President Zelensky still safe? Yeah, I mean, He's still doing appearances. He's still speaking before, I forgot, was it yesterday maybe? He was speaking before yet another parliament around the world, by Zoom video. So no, he's still fine, thank God. Yeah. Well, isn't that the question? Colonel Mustard, I love these names. Colonel Mustard says, why are tanks okay and jets not? Well, that's exactly it. Or in this case, okay, infantry fighting vehicles or whatever, which are these hard little vehicles that look like tanks and have a tank kind of gun on them. Why is that okay? But sending fighter jets is an act of war and we're afraid. There's no difference. I think, again, look, what I think happened, we're talking about the issue with the Polish MiGs, okay? And, okay, sorry, that was, yep, I did. I just want to make sure I'd gotten to Daniel's question. I did, okay. We're talking about the issue with the Polish MiGs. And initially, remember this whole thing about Polish fighter jets, and Poland said it's okay to give them to Ukraine as long as Poland gives them to America first, and then America can give them to Ukraine. And the U.S. said, we don't want to do it, and Poland said, we don't want to do it. Thank you for that, by the way, for the roses. And the deal finally fell through. And the idea was that we were all too scared that it would get Putin angry. I think what happened was the Russians called us privately and said, if you send those jets, we're bombing you. We're going to bomb the airport in Poland or I don't know what, and we're telling you right now. And Biden and the NATO allies freaked out. That's my guess. Because it didn't make sense to me why, and frankly, I'm not sure they should have freaked out. I'm not sure they should have said, you know what, Bill, we can sell whatever military we want to whoever, you can go to hell. I mean, they should have. They said, we're not going to send our men. We're not going to attack you, but you can't tell us who to send military to any more than we can tell you who to sell weapons to. So go away. But I think we caved because Putin threatened us, and he's crazy. It's the same BS. Like I said, he's been playing us very well. All right. Do another question. We're going to go a few more minutes, but not too long tonight. Because as I said, I've got something at 8 and I want to be able to relax a little before. Sorry, scrolling up. See what else we got here. Each time it takes me to the beginning again. Yeah, I mean, I'll answer Sammy's question real quick. The ruble, I know yesterday at least, the ruble came back significantly, almost back to where it was before. The exchange rate, the ruble dropped a lot. Oh, thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate it. Sorry, Lindsay saying goodbye to everybody. The ruble dropped a lot vis-a-vis the dollar, and now it's kind of back to where it was before. And, the Russians were crowing about this. I don't know that it matters. I mean, I'm sure it matters. You'd have to ask sort of an economist why it matters. But the Russians were trying to use it to prove that the sanctions aren't working. And I was explaining this last night. The exchange rate simply says what price you pay for goods, right? If the ruble is worth a lot less, it means the ruble buys fewer dollars. So it means, and again, with the sanctions, I don't even know that there is any trade going on in dollars, but if there were, it means, let's make this up. Previously, you needed 10 rubles to buy a dollar. Now, when it plummeted, now you need 100 rubles to buy a dollar. Well, what that means is the good is more expensive to buy. It doesn't get to the question of whether you're allowed to buy it or not. The sanctions are cutting off Russia and saying, you can't buy these goods, right? A lot of the goods that can help the military. We know the airlines, I don't even know if they were sanctioned at this point. The airlines themselves, the Airbus, Boeing, simply cut off Russia and said, we're not selling you any parts anymore to fix your airplanes. And Boeing said, we're taking the manual. You can no longer use our manual that's online for fixing your planes. So they actually cut Russia off. The exchange rate doesn't help them because they're still not allowed to buy Boeing and Airbus parts for their planes, right? They can no longer buy Sony cameras for their drones. It doesn't matter that, if they could buy it, they now have a better exchange rate because the ruble's stronger. Well, good for the ruble, but they can't buy the goods. So that's the sort of issue between the ruble. It's always, if you are one who believes you want Russia to pay a price, it's always better for the ruble to be sinking because then it also means goods become more expensive in Russia. So any goods they're getting are getting more expensive. Inflation goes up. People get angrier. So again, if you're trying to sort of make people more angry and angry at their government, it helps to have prices go up. It helps to have the ruble be weak. But the ruble being strong doesn't affect the sanctions. No. Richard Fisher. Not surprised if Biden gets opinion by Putin. Biden was the only one in the White House that was against the raid in Pakistan that got Osama bin Laden. Oh, I forgot about that. Was he? That's interesting. The thing is, I will say this, though. Biden has done an amazing job rallying the allies. He really has. There's a part of me that wonders, I don't know. There's a part of me that wonders whether Biden was almost channeling the allies and knew that we couldn't get away with like the MiGs and this kind of stuff because, I don't know. I mean, Poland wanted to do it, but maybe France had said no way. Or Britain, I don't know. Probably France had said, no way, we're not letting you sell these MiGs. I don't know. But the one critique I have of Biden is I think I know why he did it, but I don't think he should have been so clear with Putin at the beginning and said, oh, yeah, we're not going to invade. No matter what you do inside Ukraine, we're not going to war with you because that would be world. And 3 times, I think he said it'll be World War III, because to me, that was giving Putin an open invitation to do whatever he wanted to. You were saying, okay, Putin, be as nasty as you want, kill as many civilians as you want. And frankly, even use chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, or biological weapons, or maybe nuclear weapons inside Ukraine, because again, if we engage as America, it's World War III, which is the end of the world. So you blow up all of Kiev and kill, 3 million people. Are we going to kill 7 billion people in the world in exchange? Right? I mean, so I think it was the wrong thing to tell Putin. The logic of it I get, which is clearly Biden was given an intelligence assessment by the American intelligence community that said, Putin's nerves are frayed. He's paranoid. You need to reassure him as to how far we're willing to go, because if you don't, he might freak out and preemptively use chemical weapons or whatever. That's what I'm convinced happened. But to me, it had the effect of saying, we're scared of you. You've got nukes. Oh my God. And we're not going to, we're only going to intervene to a certain point. I don't think that was smart. I still give Biden a B+, A- for all of this, because no, you're done. No. I wish I could shift my camera. The dog moved again. Sasha, no. I'm not abandoning you guys again. Now, I will abandon you when we're having our Q&A. Then I'll go help her. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I'm not going to knock Biden overall, but for that, Sasha, you got to wait. She moved her blanket off of her, and she's again upset because if she can't quite get the blanket adjusted, she goes, and I'm supposed to come over and help her. I don't know how I learned that at some point, but I learned that's what she wanted. Harvey, and then maybe we'll do 1 or 2 more questions, and that's it. As I said, we're going to do, a short one, only an hour and 10 or an hour and 15 minutes tonight. Well, actually, usually go an hour 15 anyway of Q&A. What am I saying? We're already heading towards that. What do you think of the U.S. sending protective equipment to, I did see that today, yeah, to Ukraine in the case of a chemical attack? I think it's biological as well. Do they know something? Oh, I saw you send the email, and I actually used my Google to schedule it for tomorrow morning to pop in, so I'm going to see it in the morning once I'm relaxed. So thank you. I saw it. I didn't think anything of it. Yeah, there was a report today that the U.S. has sent, maybe the White House said so, the U.S. has sent equipment to whether protect or clean up from chemical and biological attack to the Ukrainians. And my guess is it's just being cautious, because we've already said publicly that we're worried about whether Putin's going to use them, and that there were growing signs that he might, getting desperate, making the threats. I mentioned that Russian TV the other day made that crazy statement about, Russia no longer has chemical weapons, so you just watch. There's going to be a chemical attack, and it's going to be America and Ukraine trying to blame us. In other words, almost sounding like they're planning to do one. We're just being cautious, and I think it makes sense. And frankly, it would look really bad if he didn't send it, because then a lot of us here would be saying, what the F, Joe? You didn't send Ukraine how to protect themselves when you were warning it was going to happen. So I'm not convinced it shows it's going to happen. I just think, our guys were being careful, which isn't a bad thing. Sorry, just making sure there weren't others. Okay, there aren't others. Rebecca Milan, I thought you left. Maybe you didn't leave. Okay, never mind. Any more on Poland and other Baltic states closing borders to Russia? They want to. Any truth to the videos of Ukraine flying under the radar to bomb the 3 locations? Well, who the hell knows? Supposedly, okay, we had 2 days ago, 2 days ago, the 30th, somebody blows up the ammunition depot in Belgorod across the Russian border right near Ukraine. Yesterday, or this morning, so a day and a half later, somebody somehow blows up the oil depot. To me, both of them sound like the Ukrainians previously I had read that Ukrainian special forces had blown up 2 Russian air bases or airfields as well, airports, like the landing strips. So, who knows? I mean, I'm not sure. Well, if I were Ukraine, I could see playing cagey, because why not? Why not make the Russians guess? Because if you admit it, then the Russians know you have the capacity. If you don't admit it, then the Russians are still going, was it you? Wasn't you? Gosh, now we've got to do a safety check because maybe the plant isn't safe. So now you're spending a lot of manpower and hours investigating whether the munitions weren't safe, whether the oil depot had a problem. Whereas if the Ukrainians admit it, then you know what the problem was. So maybe that's part of the game. I feel like the Ukrainians did it. The closing the border things, I know Poland was taking the lead, and was it with the Baltic states that they were talking about closing the borders with Russia? And I believe, I'm not sure if that meant commerce. I was interpreting it as meaning commerce, because you've still got these trucks, for example, from Europe going across Poland through Belarus and into Russia. And I'm not sure why that still is going on, but I would love to see that stop, to have that kind of trade come to an end. So I don't know. Let me see. Okay, there's no question there. Thank you. I do like that C thing a lot on TikTok, by the way. That's particularly cool. I'm still my Harry Potter sorting hat guy, but that C thing's pretty neat. Hold on, going to the questions. All right, hang on. What do we got? I'm trying to go to the bottom of the question, so I mix these up a little bit. Yeah, Putin being ill, we talked about earlier, could be thyroid cancer. Also, I've heard rumors he could be an alcoholic who does a lot of steroids because he could have long COVID. I saw that sorting hat pop out. Thank you. It popped up above the top of the questions. Thank you for that. What do you know about the Wagner Group or Wagner Group, whatever? Russian mercenaries somehow tied to an oligarch who's very close to Putin. They call him Putin's chef, whatever reason, because he's so close to Putin. And saw a U.S. general the other day, former general, just come out and say they're basically murderers. They're murderers. So these guys are mercenaries. They're guns for hire, and basically mafia. I mean, not mafia. I mean, they're murderers. They're guys you hire when you just want to kill people, and they would be the perfect people to go in and probably kill a lot of Ukrainian civilians. So, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to put the ruble question up because we already answered the ruble question. Let me find one more here. I don't know. I mean, it's a good question because every day we can revisit it. So, Turtle Boys ask, what's the best realistic end for Ukraine? Meaning, what's the realistic end of the war? It depends how it goes. Thank you for that, by the way. Ukraine's done very well thank you for that too. Ukraine's done very well from the beginning. We know that. Okay. They've done very well. Okay. Oh, thank you, Ashley. They've done very well in the last few weeks, especially pushing back against Russia. Pushing back at Kiev. I mean, they saved Kiev. The Russians were going to take Kiev, the capital. The Ukrainians pushed back and won in that area, at least. The Russians caved. That's why. And now our guys say the Russians really are leaving. I mean, a lot of them are leaving to then go fight in the east. But man, the Ukrainians beat them in part of the country. Thank you. So the question becomes, what happens now? There's a lot of questions. One is, how long does this go? 2, how does it get settled? I mean, does this become some long-term guerrilla war, which is what I think a lot of us thought was going to happen? We thought that Russia was going to pull it off at the beginning, and it was then going to be Ukraine for 10 years having to fight back and get its territory back. Thank you for that on TikTok, by the way, the turntable. And now I don't know what anybody of us are doing, because a lot of people are thinking Russia can't stay in here for the long haul unless literally, like whoever was asking earlier, they have like a nationwide conscription, like literally a nationwide draft. It is the only way that they were saying these guys could stay in for the long haul. Part of that gets to, if Russia tries to hold on to Eastern Ukraine and annex it, how do they hold on to it, right? I mean, that would be long-term war with Ukraine, I would think. I doubt Ukraine would agree to that. I guess the big question I would have in terms of how it ends is, you kind of get to, what would Russia be willing to accept? Like how many, I saw that too, thank you. How many Russians have to die? And how badly do they have to do before the Russian people rise up and go, this is going horribly, enough is enough? In Afghanistan, it took 10 years for that to happen. And it finally happened, and it helped end the Soviet Union, but it was 10 years. So, that's a long time. Let me jump back. All right, I'll do one more question on YouTube, and then we're going to hang out for a few minutes, folks, and then relax, okay? Although, as always on YouTube, you're all chatting amongst yourselves. Well, okay, I'm going to bring this one up because this is what like I keep wondering about. So, Christia, Luke asks, oh, no, okay, that's pretty freaking cool. Sorry, somebody did something very cool on TikTok that I've not seen before. Sorry, I have to thank people when you do these. It's just like you guys. You can't see all the goofy stuff they're doing on TikTok, but that was pretty freaking cool. I've not seen that before. Thank you, whoever that was. Christia asks if the Russians are all over the Ukrainian border. Meaning if the Russians like have invaded and they've got troops there, right? And the Russian troops should go all the way back into Russia because their supply lines and everything else. How could Ukraine get multiple helicopters over the Russian border to then blow things up again and again? Mind you, 2 or 3 nights in a row, right? They go one night and they blow up the ammunitions depot. They go the next night or the next night's morning and they blow up an oil depot. How are they pulling it off? I mean, not to mention, how are they pulling it off anyway? Is Russia not protecting their border in the middle of a war? Their border with the very people they're fighting on one of the major fights they're fronting on, going after Kharkiv? I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody check a Google map. Kharkiv is not that far away from Russia. I don't know, is it 50 miles, 25 miles? It's not that far away. I'm kind of surprised no one's asked that because I kind of wanted to ask and go, how pathetic is the Russian military that the Ukrainians night after night can just fly helicopters in and bomb, mind you, a military town. Belgorod is a town with a lot of military bases. I mean, how bad is security there in that town and those military bases if Ukrainians can do this? It reminds me of the German guy that, remember, he flew that drone that landed on the White House lawn and freaked everybody out. Thank you for that again, the hat. So anyway, I agree with you. I think it's weird. It also makes you wonder if Ukrainians even did it for that reason. But I think maybe they did, and then it makes you question how bad is Russian security and the Russian border and everything else, that they can't even protect their own border. Because, I mean, think about this too. Thank you for that too. So maybe to close with this, if the Ukrainians were as bad as the Russians, the Ukrainians would be bombing civilians in Russia to really cause trouble. And they're not, but they could. Thank you for the little universe there. Just as a way of sort of making the Russians, fear for themselves, fear for their lives, blah blah blah. Oh, okay. Thanks, Alyssa. I was gonna answer anyway because you put it there, but thank you. All right, guys. No more questions. We're done. I will hang. Let's see, 5-10 minutes, and then I want to chill out a little before 8. Maybe get myself some chocolate before I go. But this is the time of the show where we just hang and we chat for fun. So feel free to join in any topics. All we will not be doing is talking Ukraine because I don't want to get into anything serious like that. But sorry, water here. Feisty. I'll put these on again so I can see the. Ooh, what else we got going on? John has a sip of water. John had a sip of water. No, I'm feeling better though. It's been good. Oh yeah, tomorrow. So tomorrow, Saturday, we will do our usual time. Well, here's what I'm thinking. Let me ask you guys. I mean, normally we do 1 p.m. on the weekends. My only thought is I don't want to do late at night because I like giving the Europeans a chance to come earlier. I don't know if 1 o'clock is too early because sometimes I feel like there isn't enough stuff that's happened yet. Because like we do this now and then we wake up in the morning and then we have another update. Like, I don't know, should this be a little later in the afternoon? I mean, I don't want to occupy all my afternoons. They haven't been busy lately. But I don't know whether we do more like 2 o'clock because it gives us, let me think. I don't know. I'm trying to think this. What do you guys think? Does it matter? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock? And that would be Washington, D.C. time. But I'm kind of, I mean, if 1 p.m. works for Europe, 3. I just don't want to get 3 because then we're pushing back later, But that's interesting. The blue. I don't know if I do. I doubt I do have blue light filter glasses. I've got whatever reading glasses you buy at Costco. I didn't think of that. Yeah. Let's stick with 1 o'clock for now. We'll stick with 1 p.m. for now, Washington, D.C. time. I mean, no. Okay. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm changing my mind. Let's do. No, let's do 1 o'clock. That's fine. It's not the time. It's not going to change that much after that. We'll do 1 p.m. Eastern again, 1 p.m. Washington, D.C. time, which should be 1700 UTC, I think. Is 1 o'clock isn't too early for California. It's 10 a.m. All right, 2 p.m. The West Coast says 2 p.m. is easier. All right, we'll do 2 p.m. Hopefully it's not getting, well, for the Europeans anyway, you know, it's not, well, for the Europeans, it'll be Europeans like me that have nothing big to do that evening. Look, let's try it and see. We'll try 2 p.m. tomorrow, okay? We'll try that. I mean, I'm still sort of testing the times out as to what works for everybody. But I at least like to have an earlier time on the weekend because that at least gives, I don't know how it works for the Asians and, you know, like the Australians and all of that. But like for Europe, I don't know if anybody's Africa. We don't get a lot of Africa joining in, I think, from what I've seen. But at least for the Europeans, 2 in the afternoon gives them time. So, all right. I know 10 a.m. I'm pretty much awake. I kind of wake up early anyway because I can't sleep anymore. Oh God, I was never a news anchor. No. I mean, I've done a lot of public speaking over the years. I've done a lot of TV. I did debate in high school. So like, I like public speaking, but I never did news. No. Nope. All right, guys, maybe another minute and then I'm getting tired. I finally did have a good night's sleep last night. God, for the first time in forever. That was nice. So that's been good. And the weather's finally warming up here again, which is good, or again. 4 or 5 in Australia. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. Oh. But at least we can get you guys. Yeah, exactly. My plans. No, I'm doing some stuff with friends later tonight. No, Sasha's banana bread. Actually, I've got to see if I still have banana bread in the freezer. I froze it. I freeze my little, my muffins I made so that I can have them once in a while. I just put them in the microwave, and then I've got a nice little chocolate chip banana muffin. I like that. Oh, did he? Will Smith resigned from the Academy Awards. That's interesting. Well, that means they were going to boot him. And they said you can either withdraw, and thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. You can either withdraw and look like you're actually taking some responsibility, or we can kick you out, and then it looks really bad. So they were going to kick him out. That's interesting. Which means, now I don't know what that really does. Now it does mean that you can't come to the Academy Awards, I guess, although that's funny if he'd be nominated. You can't vote for the Academy Award winners, right? I don't know what other significance that has. The more, it's funny. Excuse me. Will Smith, the American actor who decided to slap the guy on stage at the Academy Awards at the Oscars this week. So yeah, I don't even want to get into it again. I'm tired. Thank you for the crown. All right, guys. Yeah, I can feel my energy like dropping here. I normally hang out for 20 minutes, but I'm just too tired. So tomorrow we will do 2 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Washington, D.C. time. So 2 p.m. means 1400 hours, which means 1800 UTC, unless, of course, Europe's time changes this weekend, and I have no idea if your time changes because it's April 1st. So depending on what time it is for you at home, the easiest way to think of it is it's 2 p.m. Washington, D.C. time. That's the easiest way. And that way, find out tomorrow, not today. Oh, no, Sunday the time changes, so tomorrow's fine anyway. I don't care. You all know where you live. Thank you for that. You'll figure it out. But 2 p.m. Washington, D.C. tomorrow. All right, guys. Thank you all. As always, thank you, moderators. You've been lovely. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks for the good chat. Thank you for all the gifts on both of you. I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, okay? Bye. Okay, bye. I'm going to hang up TikTok first. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it so much. Boom, TikTokers. Bye, TikTokers. And I know she's still there right now. I am going to fix it right now, actually. All right, bye, guys.